KCAL News is celebrating Black History Month in Southern California. Hello, I'm Pat Harvey, joined by our Chauncy Glover, Amy Johnson, and Sheba Turk.
Well, LA County is home to the third largest black population in the U.S., almost 1 million people.
Black Angelenos have been and continue to be an essential part of our culture and history.
And for the next half hour, we're putting a spotlight on some of the individuals making an impact in our community.
We begin with one of the highest-ranking women in the LAPD, Deputy Chief Imada Tingrides. The LA native was promoted in 2020 and is considered a rising star. Tingrides made history at the department, and she could soon do it again. I spoke with her about her journey and career.
I saw what gangs and drugs did to my community.
LA erupted in anger and frustration in 1992 after the acquittal of 4 police officers caught on videotape savagely beating Rodney King. A young Imada Tingrides was in her South LA home watching the violence unfold with fear and concern. That moment in time would change her life.
I found myself wanting to be part of a solution as it relates to addressing some of the criminal activity that was happening in our community.
Tingrides made the decision to follow in her grandmother's footsteps, a sheriff's deputy who was supportive of her career choice.
She always told me you have to be strong and be relentless and serve with your heart.
3 years later, she began her now 29-year career with LAPD. Many times she found herself the only black person and woman in the room.
I could remember graduating the police academy and being told I was going to be sent to West Los Angeles to help have more diversity.
Now she is one of the highest ranking women and African Americans in the department.
When I joined LAPD, I knew that I was going to come back and make a difference in my community.
In 2011, Tingrides got her chance to give back to her neighborhood. Watts had long been synonymous with gangs and violent crime.
We had had some pretty hellacious incidents in crime going on in our public housing developments, from shootings to sexual assaults to murders.
Imada and her husband Phil, now a retired LAPD deputy chief, with the support of then Chief Charlie Beck and civil rights attorney Connie Rice, were among those who started the community policing program known as the Community Safety Partnership, or CSP.
And really begin to set a path to change how the community felt about law enforcement.
CSP officers patrol on foot and are, among other things, expected to dedicate at least 5 years to a single neighborhood where they work to foster goodwill within the community while reducing the influence of gangs.
The culture shift is getting officers to understand the history and the culture of the communities that they're working in. And when you provide them the tools and the knowledge, then they're going to be successful as they go about policing and serving.
The success of the program led to a historic promotion.
Promoting within the LAPD, you're not given a promotion. You work hard and you earn it.
Tingrides went from captain to deputy chief, skipping the commander rank. This was only the second time in the history of the LAPD that this has been achieved, and the first time it was achieved by a woman. And there is speculation that Tingrides might make history yet again. First of all, you know about the chatter. There is a possibility that you could become the next chief of police for LAPD. So what do you think about that possibility?
I am extremely humbled by the community sentiment, and in reflecting on my almost 3 decades of service in this city, what I know is that I am LA, and I love the city of Los Angeles.
Tingrides says CSP continues to be a success and that there haven't been any shootings involving a CSP officer in 13 years.
It's an often overlooked part of history, skate culture's influence on the civil rights movement. And now a skate renaissance is underway. KCAL News reporter Amanda Starantino spoke to a woman celebrating the past as she rolls towards the future.
Roller skating has seen a huge resurgence, especially since the pandemic, but the right to roller skate was fought for by so many people just a few decades ago. Now, the Black history that's laced within this sport still plays a big impact on our modern-day roller skaters today.
On Wheels is where Camry Lauren James feels at home. It's her place of peace, and it's her way to connect. This Los Angeles 32-year-old lives the art of roller skating.
It feels more comfortable for me to wear my roller skates than to wear shoes.
In her movement, she celebrates who she is and those who did the work before her.
It's so important to keep roller skating alive and to remember that it's from Black culture.
In the 1950s, rinks would only offer one night of skating for Black skaters, if that. The Black community took to the streets to dance on their skates. It later became a part of the civil rights movement as a way to express themselves while fighting discrimination. And by the 70s, roller skating became part of disco culture.
A lot of them actually went to jail just for roller skating.
And because of those skaters before her, James was able to use her skates to share a message in a time of unrest.
When we had all the Black Lives Matter protests happening, it was a really stressful time for so many Black folks, and roller skating was a way where we could fully express our joy, where we were safe.
It was during that time when she started sharing her love of skating, offering classes to people who wanted to learn during the pandemic. She's now a thriving content creator, inspiring other women to embrace their joy that comes from within.
Still not seen enough. We need to normalize that in everything that we do, because Blackness isn't always struggle. And even though there's still struggles happening even to this day, we need to normalize seeing that joy so we can spread it even more. And that's how I feel roller skating is. It's a way for me to spread the joy that I feel when I'm on my wheels.
The feeling of freedom in the present with grounding from a strong resilience from the past that comes from confidence on wheels. Amanda Starrentino, KCAL News.
A piece of Black history could soon be immortalized.
Stylesville is the oldest Black-owned barbershop in the San Fernando Valley. And now the city of LA is considering making it a historic landmark.
And KCAL News reporter Tina Patel spoke to the owner of Stylesville in Pacoima.
Greg Carter Fawcett grew up in his grandfather's barbershop, but he was always the young man in the barber chair. He never thought he'd be the barber.
He's 15? Yeah. Oh, most definitely at 15 I'll be doing this. At 15, I didn't know what I'd be doing.
He knew he liked people, he knew he liked working with his hands, and he knew he didn't want a job where he'd be bossed around.
I don't have people standing over my shoulders telling me what I can and cannot do.
But being a barber is one thing, running a barbershop is another. Greg says his grandfather had to ask him several times before he agreed to take over Stylesville. The shop first opened in the 1950s, so there's always things that need to be upgraded or replaced. And the neighborhood isn't the same anymore. In the 60s and 70s, Pacoima was mostly African American. Black people needed a place where they could let their hair down. Now the valley is more diverse. New people are constantly moving in and out. That means there are times when business is slow. But Greg says the one thing his grandfather taught him was patience, that you just have to be here and be ready when someone needs a cut, then do your best to help them look their best.
It's a win-win situation. You get a good haircut, I get a good feeling at the end of the day.
The city of Los Angeles is now considering making Stylesville a historic landmark for being the oldest Black barbershop still operating in the San Fernando Valley. I asked Greg what his grandfather would think if he heard about that honor.
It's not too often that you see a strong Black man cry, but he probably would have a tear too. I think he's proud. I'm almost certainly proud.
In Pacoima, Tina Patel, KCAL News.
Actor Ren T. Brown has been in countless movies and shows as well as theater. The LA native credits his long family lineage for much of his success and wants to share those gifts with the next generation of not only Black actors, but those working behind the scenes. Here's a look at the Black theater he created and his rich history in the entertainment world.
I am so honored, Nikayla. I'm so honored, Nedra.
A special welcome to the cast and crew.
I'm honored that you're here. My name is Ren Troy Brown. I'm the founder and the producing artistic director of Ebony Repertory Theater, and I welcome you all to our first rehearsal of Stew,
The play by Zora Howard is presented by the Ebony Repertory Theater, which was founded by actor, producer, and director Ren Troy Brown 15 years ago and is housed in the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center.
I am a fourth-generation Angelino, and there has never been a professional African-American theater company in this city's history.
All right now. Hey. Brown says it's not just about having a place for Black people to see themselves on stage, but helping them get on stage and working in theater.
This is really about fostering the Black acting community, the Black theatrical community, because there's a dearth and a paucity with regard to real opportunities in so many of the places around this country and frankly within my home city. We don't have enough stage managers, we don't have enough scenic designers, we don't have enough costume designers, all those wonderful disciplines within the theater and within the arts. We have not cultivated a real large group of young artists who are doing this work. And so my definition of producer in this instance is the producing of opportunity.
J. King Carroll will direct Stu, the latest play produced by the Ebony Repertory Theater.
I've known Ren for years, and I have been coveting the opportunity to helm a production here.
She says this theater provides a sense of belonging.
This is one of the only, if not only, regional equity theater for us, for Black people, for people of color. And that is not insignificant. That is huge.
Crazy about my scenery. Honestly, it feels like coming home.
Rosalind Ruff is playing Lillian in the production and says there's a special familiarity in working at this Black theater created by Brown.
There is just so much love for community and the community he grew up in. And it means so much to him, and therefore means so much to me to come and support and be a part of this journey with him.
Brown's acting journey began 40 years ago. As a child actor, he was on stage and screens, including McDonald's first Chicken McNugget commercial. 'Cause you deserve a break. He would go on to appear in countless movies and shows.
You don't wear the ribbon? Creating opportunity for the coming generation is just vitally important. I've been so fortunate because of the elders who had gone before me.
Some of those elders include his own family members.
This is my great-grandfather, Willis Handy Young.
He founded the New Orleans Strutters, his own theatrical troupe. Then there was his son, Lee Young Sr.
My grandfather was the first Black staff musician in the history of Hollywood on Columbia Pictures staff in 1943. And for 25 years, he was a musical director for Nat King Cole. This is my maternal grandmother, Mrs. Ruth E. Givens, born in Los Angeles in 1911.
She was a torch singer and cotton club dancer and worked in theater and several films in the 30s and 40s. And there was his paternal grandfather, Troy Brown Sr.
He was the 5th Black actor in Screen Actors Guild. He played the London Palladium in 1933. On January 26, 1934, he was the first ever show at the Apollo Theater.
His paternal grandmother, Bertha Lee Brown, was an Irvin C. Miller brown skin model and cotton club dancer. His father, Troy Brown Jr.
My father made his debut on stage at 4 years old with Cab Calloway at the Alhambra Theater in Harlem. My father did many motion pictures as a child, To Have and to Have Not with Humphrey Bogart.
He went on to do more movies and became a jazz musician, leading his son, Ren T. Brown, to want to pass the baton on to others.
Having an African-American theater that caters to the African-American community and the particular needs of our community, that's vitally important. And mentoring, spending time discussing and strategically trying to help a young artist is something that I do very readily, often, and very easily, because I think it's vitally important to share, from generation to generation.
The latest production at the Ebony Repertory Theater, Stu, will run from March 7th through March 24th. Brown welcomes and encourages everyone to come see the play, especially those who haven't been exposed to the theater world.
Now to an LA teenager selected as National Youth Poet Laureate.
She's a first-generation Nigerian American, blending her love of language with a commitment to social justice.
And KCAL News reporter Lori Perez has her story.
The president uses the same language that a toddler uses, but you can bend the language, shift it, and morph it to mean something way bigger than it was intended to mean.
That's what National Youth Poet Laureate Salome Agbaraji calls the elasticity of language, what she loves about poetry. We spoke to her via Zoom from her freshman dorm room at Harvard, where this lover of modern scribes,
Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole is super good.
Hasn't yet studied the classics, but she's opening up to it.
So I think I will dabble a bit. I was a little like, you know, I'm used to poetry being this way and I do it this way.
And she's been doing it since she was very young. First reciting raps for friends and family, then at local poetry shows. She lights up talking about language and her home.
One of my most popular poems is called Pretty Places of LA. And it's me just celebrating the diversity and like the vibrancy of the Los Angeles area.
Definitely not like that sweet little old lady with only 6 teeth but still smiled at me anyway like I was her own granddaughter.
From Instagram posts and local shows, she's now performed at the United Nations, the Golden Globes, halftime at a Rams game, and just a few months ago in a talent show at Harvard, where she says she was stunned by the response.
People went crazy, and I thought that I appreciated the love, but I was like, I mean, at home, if you're not a poet, then your cousin is a poet, or your mom was a poet when she was younger. Like, poetry was so much part of like Southern California culture. And then I talked to some people, they're like, no, from where I'm from, like I've never seen a live poetry performance before you 5 seconds ago.
As National Youth Poet Laureate until next spring, she'll perform all over the country, exposing more people to poetry and the way she uses it to advocate for social justice and educational equity.
And at the end of day, you see a million stars in an obsidian sky, ozone unobstructed by carbon clouds.
In West LA, Lori Perez, KCAL News.
They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and that's especially true for photographers. A local group of visual artists wanted to see more Black people telling Black stories through their camera lens. I visited a Culver City nonprofit that's helping make that possible.
I've been taking photos since I was like 4, apparently.
Maya June Mansour has been a photographer for nearly her entire life. So in 2020, she couldn't tear herself away from the images of protest
Stand up for justice
after the murder of George Floyd by a white Minneapolis police officer and other instances of racial unrest and police brutality.
And we were seeing so many images of Black pain being captured by non-Black people.
Mansour and several other photographers wondered how the narrative would be different if more Black people could tell their own stories of pain and more.
But also joy and humor and nerdiness and obscurity and just all of the vast things that Black people are.
And is that what it looks like when Black people do it? Maybe it's showing all sides of us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's as many expressions of Blackness as there are Black people.
I feel like this is the first time that I've kind of felt like I belonged.
So Mansour and a group of photographers created the Black Image Center. The Culver City nonprofit is a community photography space created as a response to their curiosity.
Really out of this question of what would it look like if LA's Black photographers and storytellers had a space.
The Black Image Center was founded in 2020. In 2021, they started doing pop-ups and events for Black photographers. And then in 2022, they opened their permanent space, which has tons of great resources for Black photographers, but it also has created an amazing sense of community.
I think it's also just a great energy to be in, which is why I keep coming back. Like, it felt really good to just share space with other people who also wanted to create something for themselves.
Chrissy Lopez is a photographer and art director. She moved to LA right before the pandemic and went to one of the center's events. She's been connected to it ever since.
I've been able to utilize these things and physical space to elevate my own life and my own work.
The center serves as a co-working space for just $5 a day, and it's apparent that Black image makers are benefiting from connecting and collaborating. They help each other navigate all aspects of being a creative entrepreneur.
We have people that will hit us up and be like, hey, I just got asked to do this job, but I don't know how to make an estimate. Can you help me?
The center also provides access to resources and tools that often keep Black creators from thriving.
I am a young Black photographer, so a lot of the times I'm kind of trying to fill this void that I see in my own career.
A photographer who can't afford art school can take part in a camera clinic, workshop, or apply for the artist residency, which covers everything from technical skills to philosophy.
Really, the idea is based off of this thought that just like how our bodies deserve to be nourished, so does our creativity. And so folks are able to come and grab a roll of film for free. The first roll is free, and then the next ones are pay what you can.
Lopez has used that free film to complete some of her own projects. In her latest series, she interviews and photographs image makers who have poor vision.
And what I wanted to discuss was how our relationship with our vision may have shaped our journey as creatives.
Lopez doesn't think that her career would be where it is today without the center where she landed her first residency. As Lopez knows very well, cost is a huge barrier to entry into the photography world. Everything that the Black Image Center provides is free or low cost. The free resources, the classes, the connections, it's all about giving Black photographers the ability to harness their power into pictures.
Black people deserve to be able to tell our own stories.
And speaking of the Black Image Center, one photographer there is on an awe-inspiring quest. He wants to help Black families archive their legacies by providing portraits for free. KCAL News reporter Luz Delia Caballero has a snapshot of his ongoing anthropology project.
This is a book of my ancestors and family heritage.
As Julian James flips through the pages, he's reminded of how valuable this photo album really is.
When I look through this book, I feel a sense of pride and sense of honor and a sense of self-awareness and understanding of self and where I come from.
The same feeling he got when he was younger.
I was always surrounded with family photos, whether they were on the wall, in boxes, family albums.
But he quickly realized
this is actually my grandfather and my grandmother.
Not everyone has the opportunity to connect with their family history in that way.
I was more of an anomaly than the rule, and that kind of shocked me, and I wanted to do something about it.
And so the Heirloom Project was born.
It's a portrait project where I am photographing families at no cost to them in order to help them actively archive and preserve their family lineage. Not only does it have a really big impact, but there's a universal need for it.
His vision brought to life right here at the Black Image Center, where Julian James uses his gift to document Black legacy.
Everyone has a story, and their story is moralized through these photos.
And while they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, for James, these portraits take on a new meaning.
The camera enables us to freeze time, but the real power is the connection between people.
And as he looks through the pictures he's taken, James is flooded with memories attached to that moment in time.
One that stood out was of this father and his daughter. The daughter told me that it brought her mom to tears to see the two of them captured in that way.
Portraits that share Black culture.
I feel fortunate when I can capture multiple generations. This is like 4 generations in one photo.
And ensure their history is documented and celebrated for generations to come. Luz Delia Caballero.
It's really an honor for me to be a part of their story.
KCAL News.
Thanks for watching KCAL News as we celebrate Black History Month.
We hope you enjoyed learning about some incredible people in Southern California's Black community.
Now, to see these stories again and others, just head to our website at kcalnews.com.
For all of us here at KCAL News, thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed our Black History Month special.